by my clock. Excuse me, Verizon clock. Any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll go to audience and communications.
We're doing executive session.
Having none, we'll go right to 4.0
Yes.
presentations.
Great. Thank you. Leah and I are going to present together. I'm going to do the first part, and she's going to flip through the slides for me.
Oh, she is, absolutely.
Yes, she is.
I have to do it from over there, right? No, that's fine.
So we're gonna present at the local level the indicators and interventions we use at Hinesburg. I think what we're gonna feel really comfortable with is if you guys are able to ask a lot of questions. Molly gave a snippet of, obviously, you saw a lot of administrators there because we are gonna tie in really closely to what Molly was presenting and,
So much for that.
and yeah, so, but the big piece that I need to start with is an indicator is one piece of information that is tied to so many other pieces of information that we use every day, every week, every month, every year. So so you're going to see small little snippets of information. I'm hoping at some point we can do a full data review so that you can see all that we have. And Allegra, I'm going to throw you a curveball right away. Sorry, here I said that. I want to give credence to what Molly was saying about the CSSU assessment calendar. Allegra, can you scroll down? Because I really want to show them the amount of work that Molly and staff have done. These are, this is the bigger snapshot. So everything that we're doing, a tremendous amount of work has been put into all of the different assessments, how we're making sure that we're making progress, meeting standards, things like that. It goes on and on. So I want to make sure that you know that what we're looking at today is a very small snapshot. So then if we go back down to that, and then if we just go from current slide, and then you can go to the next one. So like I said, I'm gonna go fairly quickly through these, knowing that they're a point in time, but just stop me if you need to. One of the indicators that we look at is grades 2 and 4, fact fluency. These are the 2014 spring results. And the data is right there. Addition, subtraction for grades 2, obviously, and multiplication and division for grades 4.
Fact fluency
Yep.
is, what's a fact?
A fact is 2 times 2.
Or 2
4
plus
plus,
2.
yeah, or, yeah. And so the measure there is how often is it, I'm not sure how often they get tested for fact fluency. Oh, our math coordinator is here 3 times a year. So we track that. So this is the ending of the spring results.
Actually, there's a baseline, so it could be 4 times a year. The teachers want to know where they start. And then there's a fall, winter, spring, which you're looking at is spring of that year.
Bill.
So now to the presentation. What
Yeah.
I was looking for is, I didn't see how you determine what is proficiency.
What is proficiency?
Yeah, how do you determine what's proficient, what's not? What is
And this is why our math coordinator is along for the ride.
And the system has changed over the last couple of years. So the system that CSSU has now is that after looking at all the different research out there, they're given an assessment that has 32 problems on it. And depending on the grade level and the operation, they have actually 30 problems or 32 or 22, depending on the grade level or the operation. 20 or 30 is the meeting the standard. If they have a couple of extra, they have a way to exceed the standard. We can't tell you that this kid, which fact is the one that they might have gotten wrong. So we just said, if you get 30 out of the 32 or 20 out of the 22 or more, you are meeting or exceeding the standard within 1 minute.
And what I would say is a good question. How do you determine proficiency? What we use all of the data for, whether it's fact fluency, you're going to see assessments like we're showing. The second part of the presentation are the interventions. So what we do is we take this data and see how the students are doing based on the proficiency scale and based on where we think that. So the proficiency scale is that we're 61% proficient. There might be students that in the previous assessment were well below proficiency that have made a huge jump. There might be people that are at 61%, that are at proficient now that we're well above. So what we're doing is we're taking a look at the snapshot of each and every individual student. So even though this is a broad stroke, grades 2 and grades 4, every teacher has an eye on every assessment that's given, but then they take it down to the individual student level to see where that student is, where we need to go with that student, or what we need to be doing. And that's the second part of the conversation. Resources into our tiered intervention services. But you have more questions.
Okay, the second grade.
Do you have more questions, Bill, or you're just wondering about?
I guess my question is what's proficient here is the same thing as proficient in Omaha, Nebraska, and Nashville, Tennessee. It's the same as what's at Charlotte. It's the same that's what's.
It is within the district.
So
It is within the
I
district.
would look to Molly in terms of fact fluency. Fact fluency is
I'm not just talking about here. I'm talking about all of the things where you show proficiency and not proficiency. I'm talking about 20 facts out of 30. I'm talking about who sets what's proficient.
Yeah.
And is it equal? What's the methodology for determining what is proficiency?
Yeah.
And it's the same here as.
It isn't the same here as any other state or even any other district.
Okay.
But we did, when this was written, when this assessment was written with the math coordinators and myself 3 years ago, 4 years ago, to place an emphasis on fact fluency because of its influence on math later in life, we did some research around what is proficient, and that's how we derived these. However, what I would have said out there, but I didn't have a chance, is the scale of what's proficient will be adjusted per the Common Core. Now we have the Common Core that's going to set it nationally. And the Common Core has shifted to automaticity, if you can pardon all the darn words, but and in so doing has said kids have to know these automatically at a younger age, but we won't give you a time frame. As long as it's automatic and they're not doing the adding, subtracting in their heads or on their fingers, as long as it's automatic, we're not going to give you a time frame. So we'll have to decide. Right now, our use of the 1 minute is more stringent than I think the Common Core calls for. A first grader can't even actually take the test in 1 minute because they're still dealing with handwriting.
Right.
So we're going to definitely change this to be more compliant and use what the Common Core expects, which is that first graders get ready for a second grade accomplishment of automaticity in adding and subtracting, and third graders have automaticity in multiplication and division.
Okay. So that answers a lot for me in terms of.
Me too.
Yeah, for the board as well. We are so fortunate in this SU to have a curriculum supervisor, math coordinator. There's so much that comes that we're a part of, but that comes to us that gets implemented by the teachers. So they take it at the broad scale. They narrow it down to say, here's the assessment. Allegra and I, we have the teachers give the assessment, they take the assessment, then we use the data from that assessment. So it's very, and that's why I'm glad that I started with all of the different assessments that we use at CSSU, because there's so many data points that we use in order to move instruction forward. And but it's the intricacies like that and the behind the scenes conversations that happen all of the time to make sure that our proficiency scale is right, to make sure that we're using the right assessment, to make sure that we're on par with the Common Core, we're headed in the right direction. And it's not anything any one person can manage unto themselves, but it really takes a coordinated effort, and that's why I think we feel both very fortunate to be part of the SU. Yep. Kneecap, you've had many presentations on kneecap math, grades 3 through 5, 3 and 5. Completion of Algebra 1 by the end of 8th grade. We know that this is an area that we need to focus on. Throughout the SU, along with Hinesburg, or Hinesburg along with the SU, is implementing Algebra for All. We're in year 1 of really fully moving in that direction. We have a meeting scheduled next week. We have a committee coming together to see what's going well, where do we have to make tweaks, what worked well last year, what can we improve on this year. So anytime that you move to a new way of thinking about including all students in a particular content area, such as algebra, that is pretty high stakes. You're gonna run into a couple bumps in the road. So we're on the course. My hope is that we need to do. Personally, I want to take ownership and to say that I think that we can do much better in this area. Nancy shares with me that hope and that desire. The work and best practices from our math course. I think everybody has heard what it's definitely the best professional development we've ever been part of. We're in the studio today. It's just a relentless pursuit of building that conceptual understanding, and I want to say to you that I have no doubt that number is going to go up, but I always worry about making promises. But I feel really good about the direction that we're headed. Colin?
Well, I'm just looking at the CBU, the CSSU comparison. So my understanding is that Hinesburg was maybe a year or 2 or maybe 3 years behind what some other schools were doing with transition in math curriculum.
No.
No.
We've all been on.
Like I was thinking like Williston had started with the.
Because that was
CMP3 is the.
Williston started with best practice about a year before anybody else, and then.
But everybody
else started at the same time,
The
right?
most behind would be CBU, and even they are catching up. With
Okay.
We're in. So for the.
I was trying to explain the difference.
Yeah. No. There's been a lot of. And I've had conversations, many conversations with parents about expectations for taking the final exam, the algebra exam, the additional coursework, how everything that is entailed in algebra, 8th grade algebra. Again, being part of an SU, we have such strong support in terms of making sure that we are doing things consistently, and that is right now we have 6 60-minute math classes in 8th grade, and as you can imagine, 6 doesn't really fit into a week-long calendar.
Right.
So I mean, a lot of us have 60-minute block scheduling, and it takes some coordination to find that 6 block of time.
Yeah.
But it's all things that, again, I'm comfortable with where we're at. I'm not comfortable with that number. I want that to be higher. And one of the decisions the board made last year was to increase the amount of support with our tiered intervention system, which is what we're going to get to. But up until this year, we didn't have any math support per se.
So I have an even more basic question. Why would it be a bad thing for a student to take algebra again as a freshman at CVU?
It's not a bad thing. No, so.
But this to me is like, well, we want kids to test out in 8th grade so that they.
We want as many students as possible to be successful and not just shove them in there because we think they should be there like California did, but successfully ready and be successful with Algebra 1 in 8th grade as possible, because that opens up more potential for higher math courses at CVU. So absolutely, if a student, my daughter, needed Algebra 1 again, she passed Algebra 1 as an 8th grader by the skin on her teeth. She did it again because it built her confidence, and it worked out just fine. So no, we aren't crossing that out, and there will always be some kiddos who do take Algebra 1 as 9th graders. But in the
this
research,
message to me is like, no, that's not a good thing, and
Well, sorry for
I'm not an
conveying
expert,
that.
but
no, I think it's about the fact that in the data and in the research and across the country in math thinking, our math programs now, no matter which ones you get, we think we have the best, but no matter which, they all start algebra, though kids don't realize it, at a much earlier age. I mean, our kindergartners are doing, and first graders are doing some of that, little do they know. So the build up to being algebra ready by 8th grade is far stronger than it's ever been, and really, unless a child's struggling, it makes perfect sense for them to be in an algebra-rich program in 8th grade and probably accomplish it. Our kiddos right now haven't all been through an algebra-rich program yet because we brought in Bridges and we brought in CMP3, which is more algebra-rich. So my anticipation, without shoving this down anybody's throat, is it will organically occur as our students go through an entire K-7 algebra-rich program. And so it behooves us to begin to, which we've done, build an Algebra 1 program in 8th grade for as many students as can tackle it. And what we're working really hard on is being sure, being careful with our kids who are sensitive, tangled mathematicians and how they feel, and what we're actually needing about that as an SU. What do we do for these kids so that they're not stigmatized, so that they can reach their highest potential within this pretty rigorous math program? So we're in it right now.
And like Rebecca Holcomb said, is that it's one data point, and be careful with how you interpret and things like that. And all I'm trying to do at the building level in Allegro too is can we push students to their potential? And it's not taking a look at this and saying, ugh, but I guess I take a look at, there's not a piece of data on here where I look at it and say, oh, we can't do better. And I think that that constant pursuit of achievement is a healthy thing if it's not taken too far. Yes?
I was just going to say, and I apologize.
My oversight or whatever, it's 33% is the number. That's actually higher than it has been. I don't have the number right off the top of my head, but it's been in about the 20s, low 20s. So I'm actually pretty, I would love all kids to be successful in 8th grade, and maybe someday we'll be at 100%, but it's not a bad number. And the first year of a brand new part of a brand new program with a brand new part of it, which included all the hefty mathematics. I just want to say that, it is easy to see how low that bar is and say, ooh, but I'm actually looking at it and saying, wow, we did a pretty darn good job considering all of the things that Molly said about the program, about the kids not having necessarily all the preparation for those extra books that we did. We went from doing 6 books to 8. I mean, it's huge. So I just wanted to add that.
I recall I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Molly, in a common topic last year, Elaine presented data looking at if kids complete trigonometry in high school, look at their earning power in the future, levels of school that they completed, and so on and so forth. And the delta was huge between kids who completed trigonometry and did not. And Elaine indicated to us that completing algebra by 8th grade was a huge step to be able to finish trigonometry in high school. So my thinking was we wanted to get as many kids as we could who are comfortable through algebra in 8th grade and in geometry in freshman year. So we don't want to encourage kids, if they can do it, to repeat unless they need to. And secondly, what I would like to see there is I think for the board, where's that number in comparison to other schools in the SU? If we're at 33%, where's Charlotte, where's Shelburne, Where's Wilson? Because we're trying to give all of our kids equal access and opportunities in high school with an equal education. If we're not delivering that at an equal level as the other schools, then we're falling down.
Yep. So I think I'm trying to think in terms of the second question. I don't know if we've ever presented data where we're comparing schools. I'm trying to think of the kneecap presentations in years past. We try to stay away from that, obviously, because
Why?
I think why because we're all part of the SU. We're all moving in the same direction. It's not even fair to say that we're aware of it, of where the other schools are. If I were to say, you know, I own the 8th grade, you know, the 8th grade is my baby. I think what you need to know from me is that this piece of information tells me that we need to really take a look, provide more math support, look at the instructional practice, which we're doing. You know, I have to put all the systems in place. Whether Wilson is at 15% and Charlotte is at 80%, it's not going to change how I still look at that piece of data as the same.
But it will change from our perspective as a board, because we're ultimately responsible for the budget and where to allocate monetary resources. And if we're not at par to the other schools, then we may have to look at, well, you know what, we need to allocate more resources here and there. And we can't make informed decisions about that unless we see where we're at.
So I think, Bill, that another question that I have from this, and I don't know if this is available too, is the percentage of kids who are successful in their first year of high school math, whatever, you know, if it is Algebra 1,
Yeah.
or if it's the next trajectory, which is probably
Geometry.
geometry. So I think this tells one story, but I think the better story is, are they being successful when they come to CVU? In talking to the CVU teachers that, you know, this is anecdotal, not scientific. But when the kids are here, they don't know who's from Hinesburg, Williston. They cannot tell. To them, kids are kids, they're learning, they don't, you know, make those distinctions. So to me, I would like to see that number about, okay, we're doing a good job with this group, and I think Jeff is right. Let's make it higher based on what Elaine has said. It was a good memory on your part. But also, are they being successful once they're here in their freshman year?
And the answer is yes, I have the data.
For that.
About that, not that group of kids, but the year before, who accomplished Algebra 1 as 8th graders and how they did in their 9th grade year, and 100% achieved.
That's great.
I would like to have that shared with us.
But
Yeah.
and we can do that. The just the attention to the assessments and the progress that our students make, I can't underlie that. Like, I can't say enough how much work goes into taking a look, and it does inform budgetary decisions, and that is why we came to you last year for extra support, because we saw an area of need that we really felt like we could make some significant progress with the help from the board. And we did come to you, and I know I'm a statistical guy too. I love to see comparisons, and I could get eaten up by it. But there's also a caution.
Right.
We want to be seen as working with others and not competing against others, and I don't know if that's an easy way out, but that's the way that I'm looking at it. Is that I want to, if Williston has data that's better than ours, you better believe that Allegra and I are sitting down with Walter, Jackie, and John to say, what are you guys doing? Like, we need to slurp that same medicine, and kneecap science. People are already coming to us saying, what are you guys doing?
Well, I think you folks need to trust the board to use that information the proper way. And I think the community members who pay the tax to support the school are eligible or are entitled to see data like that too. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll run that by Elaine, and that seems like a decision that's higher up than me right now.
Although, I mean, it's all public information. You could
go online and see Charlotte and
Right.
see the comparison to the SU and go online and see Shelburne and so forth.
Anyway, I'm sorry to take that far afield.
So to actually get directly back to our budget, we did add support for math, but my understanding from meeting with Ms. Duryea and my own particular son, that the 8th graders, that's one of the sections, all the 8th graders are in one classroom at a time?
Wow.
I thought
No,
that's
so
what
the-
she split up.
So there's 2 8th grade math classes. They're both, one has a full-time co-teacher, special educator, and the other class has one for half the class, just a scheduling thing with 6th through 8th grade. There's a para-specialist in the room, so I'm not sure.
Are you talking about every day?
No, I
It's
thought there was
the
once
Monday
a week where
period.
she had all 50 plus.
There's a Monday period where we split the kids up.
That's the 660, getting that, we had to be creative on where we got that, so. But
I
it's,
think the board should know that, you know,
They're not all
we're trying
together.
to do this, and we have a math teacher who's got an enormous amount of students in her classroom.
Mhm.
I mean, even if half is, what she often has 30 kids in a
31 is her largest, and I appreciate you saying that, because it's, there's so many factors that go into taking a look at the system as a whole, and really what we're most proud of is the second part of this presentation, because it's taking a look at all the indicators and then making decisions based on, and again, the indicators are only one small piece of what we take a look at.
Okay.
And I think we could analyze all of these, and I don't know. I don't know how much people want to stick to the timelines, but I want to be cognizant of that too, and Allegra is going to present the intervention, so this is grade 2 BAS, benchmark assessment. Okay. The 5th through 8th grade kneecap.
Reading.
So you might take a look at that and say, yes, we're going up. Again, I would love to say that too, and I'm using a good slide as a word of caution. It's a different group of kids, it's a different test. You know, having all that other information, how did all the other 8th grades do and across the state? We are doing really well in reading and writing, and you know, it's something that we should be proud of. But again, it's just that cautionary Rebecca Holcomb tale about taking a look at data as one set of data points. Yeah. The science kneecap, again, this goes to Rebecca Holcomb's. We did better in 2013 on paper than we did in 2014, and we've gloated enough knowing that 2014 we're second in the state. So even though
For 8th grade, right.
for grade 8, so even though the data went down in grade 8 and it jumped significantly in grade 4, which we're super psyched about, you have to take a look at the test, the group of students, things like that. So, but this one was really a tough, an incredibly tough test across the board, and
The whole
yeah,
state crashed. The whole state, you probably know if you went on Measure Progress, came down, and CSSU surpassed
Right.
so if,
way up there. By 22 percentage points, usually we were higher.
and that's what I was gonna say is like there's one thing about comparing to other SU schools, and then there's taking a look at how we're doing against the state, and much like I'm not gonna belabor the point about where we are with 8th grade algebra. Second in the state in science, that doesn't mean that, okay, we can rest on our laurels and not put all that extra time and effort in. So whether it's 8th grade science or 8th grade algebra, the same time and energy is really putting forth, because I think that's why we do what we do.
Well, and it's, you know, because we did note the comparison to the SU for algebra, I think it's only fair to note the comparison for the science to the SU, and Hinesburg did very, very well.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
And it,
we celebrated at a faculty meeting.
Yeah,
Good.
and
Yeah.
you know, you want to do your little dance and
Right.
not gloat, but you know,
our
Hinesburg
faculty
did awesome.
is awesome, and
Sorry.
go back one. let's not we forget the fourth grade who finished top 7, I think.
Top 10.
Yeah, I think it was 7th in the state. This is a huge jump. That doesn't. That's not normal in most schools. It's 15 point.
Different group.
15
10th,
different.
10th for fourth grade.
Yeah.
I recall you guys a couple years ago maybe saying you're gonna focus on science.
Yeah.
And look where it's paid off.
Yep, and then last year, we put some money in the Medicaid budget in September, right?
Yeah.
We did some shifting around to buy for science supplies, and instantly, and I think the leadership at the SU, having science leaders in each school, and so we got several science kits that teachers just loved and were able to really use, and I also think it's you can't not look at our instruction, how it's improved in reading and writing. I mean, I think that is also tied into our science course too.
And as a board, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of pride about where we are reading, writing, and science. I mean, we're up there in each of those categories. For, I mean, as the big assessments go.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're doing some good things.
Yes, we are. So are there any other questions about the indicators? Okay. Molly, do you want to share anything that you didn't get to share before we go into the...
It would take the second half hour. But I have sort of the SU version of all that was just said, but really you'll have time to think about it and ask me questions another time. Thanks,
Okay,
Ira, I don't want to
so
take your
nope.
time.
And if you feel
Thank
like
you.
you want to jump in on any of this too, to emphasize some other points, please feel free to do that. So these are the guiding principles that we use for intervention. So I'm just going to go over them a little bit. That collaboration, the coordination of all our intervention. We do things like have common planning time for grade level. There's co-teaching where the teachers are meeting with special educators. So there's a lot of work that goes into really supporting kids and how to be responsive to the instruction that we give them. Our inclusive practices, which we're knowing the connection between the instruction and the support that kids need. So once again, we're looking at the data, we're looking at what we know about kids. And I think really to talk, you'll be hearing us talk a lot about the new paraspecialist model that we've started. Although it does look a little bit different depending on the grade level. Really what we have been promoting is that the classroom teacher is the expert on the child. And they're the ones that needs to know how that child learns, what they need for support, what they need to continue growing in their progress. And this kind of model really promotes that. So the classroom teacher is always on top of what the child is getting. It's not a intervention program where the child is taken out and somebody else is working with them and then comes back in. It's not connected to what's happening in the classroom. I think that was the model that Jeff and I were seeing. We just Schedule-wise was creating havoc and wasn't working as best as we thought that this could. It was keeping really the classroom teacher out of it, and now the classroom teacher is center to this. Evidence-based instruction, we go back to best practice. Our literacy instruction also is teachers we're really, our writing is now using Lucy Calkins. We're really using what, thanks to Molly and our math and literacy coordinators who've done a lot of research work on what is best for kids. Data-driven decision making. I have to say, I am so in awe of how our teachers are with looking at data and being able to know what kids need. We were in a meeting yesterday, and I had to leave it was after school. I had to leave at 3:30 because I needed to go with the teacher to do a parent conference at a home. And I think they finally stopped at 4:15, and it was an hour and a half just talking about math and what kids need, where we're going to do intervention. And Nancy, it was just an amazing conversation. How are we going to make this work to give kids what they need? And there was some great planning that happened, and the intervention was planned.
And this is on the back of our staff on October 16th, a half a day was
Right.
taking a look at tier 2
Right.
and taking a look at all students.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're on it.
They
And,
really
yeah.
are. And of course, early intervention, we have a wonderful pre-K program right in our school. And we're really trying to get kids right from age 3 and to make sure that we really can figure out what's going on so we can really support their learning.
Any questions on the guiding principles? Again, this is a CSSU document that we all, obviously there's a lot more detail,
Yeah.
but something that we have in common.
Yep, so this is multi-tiered system of instruction or support, and you can read that. And I think the word that I don't see in here, which is assumed, but is responsive. So really being responsive to what students need. And I can tell you that a first grade data team meeting, these kids were, these teachers had these kids grouped, right from the beginning because of the information they had from them. And after the first 4 weeks, they already were out of tier 2, and it's that responsive to what kids need. They just, maybe they missed some stuff over the summer, or, they went back a few slides, and they get the instruction, and boom, they're right up. And it's not just the person coming in, it's saying working with the kids that need the intervention. Our classroom teachers, it's very fluid. They're working with kids who need the intervention. The other person could be working with kids who need enrichment. Another person could be, it's really on a daily basis looking at what kids need and giving them what they need. So this is a CSSU, as Jeff was saying before. So this is all a cycle, and Jeff and I were talking, this is really hard to sugar out. This just seems, I think it goes back and forth and back and forth. A lot of these things do.
But the big piece is the piece on the top.
Right. High quality first instruction. That's what you want all kids to have. All kids have that. Okay.
And I guess a part of that paraspecialist position was knowing that if we
Right.
continue to take students out of the classroom,
They miss that.
they're missing that high quality first instruction.
Right.
And all of the research out there says that it's the teacher who's going to make the biggest difference.
Right.
So.
But also, then they're still a part of the class.
Right.
They know what's going on. So it could be...
And less transition.
Right, less transition. It could be that they're there for the writing mini lesson. So they are doing what everybody else is doing, and then kids, divide up in such ways that make sense, so they're getting the detail of instruction that they need. Okay. So once again, the high quality first instruction is at the top. The collaborative approach where teachers, special educators, paraspecialists, paraeducators working together to maximize academic success for all students. And really looking at differentiating instruction, trying to, once again, to be responsive, looking at the academic needs, the social emotional needs, their learning style or preference, and what their interests are. Using all of that.
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
think one thing that we talk about is sometimes you're going to hear about the tiers of instruction, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 2 is that place where they need a little extra support,
Right.
but not quite tier 3, which is special education, IEPs. But what we're trying to do at Hinesburg is we're trying to almost break down the tiers and say these are all of these kids are our kids. We all have a responsibility for all students, and that really begins to change the conversation. So obviously everybody is a tier
Right.
1 student.
So at the monthly meetings that we're having with our grade level teams, using the different assessments, formative and summative assessments that we have, to me, it is problem solving. It is looking at everything that we know about the kid and let's problem solve, and how do we make sure that they're really learning to their potential. So we do have some guiding questions. What do students need to know? And that, of course, is on the Common Core State Standards. And how will they learn it? And we keep on making sure that we, through our math and literacy coordinators and what's happening with the SU, all the guidance that they give us, we're looking at professional development all the time to make sure that we're able to answer these questions for kids.
And that flow chart is great because, you know, I mean, how will they learn? They're going to learn it by that high quality first instruction. And if they don't, then that cycle then
Right.
takes forth. And as the leader has mentioned so many times, is that it's a daily
Right.
daily check-in. So.
Mhm. So the other guiding questions that we have, and we've kind of also added one more. So what do they need to know? What will we do if they don't know it? How will we know that they've learned it? And what will we do if they already know it? I think that's the question that we also, at our meetings, we're like, okay, so if they already know it, what are we going to do? So it's not just looking at the kids who might need tier 2, it's what do we do if they already know it? So, and teachers have been very creative and flexible and really have had some great conversations in both literacy and math about what are we going to do? Okay, this kid has already met the standard, now what? So really looking at ways to solve those problems. Okay.
And Kathy, you've been part of these presentations so much. You're the only one that wasn't part of the common topic. And the formative and summative assessments, are you good with those? Or would you like, Molly mentioned them in her presentation. Right. The formative is kind of the ongoing. Students are involved with activities in class. Teacher is responsive to taking a look at the information that's coming to her, whether it's oral expression or handwritten. It could be an exit task, anything like that, and just kind of basing the instruction ongoing throughout. And then the summative is that the end of the unit is what people often think about when they think of the summative. So, you know, that's the early identification of students who are struggling. That might be just day by day. It might be, you know, over a 6-week part of time, but
also what's not on here, I mean, it's formative and summative assessments always feels like it's formal, like it's going to be written down. I mean, teacher observation is key. That's why teachers knowing their students is they're the expert on the way that child is learning. So, and I don't shy away from that. I mean, I think there's a place for teachers to have their subjectivity and their years of experience and what they know about other students and everything to bring that all together to create the best path for that child. So the tier 2 system, I mean, you can read this all yourself. This is what we've really been working on a lot this year. And I just want to say, also with the monthly data teams meeting, I was, you know, I gave teachers an option when to meet. It wasn't an option whether we were going to meet, but it was when to meet. And math coordinator was going to be their literacy coordinator, and myself to really look at student data, and it needed to be monthly. And then I got some feedback that we needed more time, and it was hard to do during the day, and how do we get more time to do that? And so I started to be creative, and I was coming up with ideas, and I was like, well, that's ridiculous. I just need to go and ask the teachers. What are some other ideas? And we differentiate for kids, we can differentiate for grade levels, and what do they need? And I was open to anything, and I threw some things out there. We don't have to meet every month. Maybe we could look at half days, and you could do it every other month. And I was just, I don't know, I threw a bunch of stuff out there, and they're like, no, we want to meet every month. We want the accountability. And most of them now are meeting after school, so we have more time to really dig down and don't have that 40-minute time where we have to stop because we have to go pick up our children. So I'm just really very, very impressed with the amount of, first of all, the expertise that these teachers have, but also the amount of time they're spending to really make sure that these students, that everyone is getting what they need.
And I think I said it before, the teachers are into it.
Oh my God.
Like they love looking and making these little tweaks here and there. And then I think that the reason why we're all in education is to see that growth in a child. And but they're definitely into it. Right. Yeah. Which is fun.
Mm-hmm. So sometimes when tier 2 doesn't work, or you feel like you need more, we have something called Kid Talk, which is monthly by grade level, K2, 3, 4, 5, 8, where it's a place that you come and kind of a round robin, you present a child and the struggles that, you know, you haven't been able to solve that problem, the different things on how to make sure the child has the instruction they need. Could be also behavioral. And so you talk with your colleagues. It's great professional development. And once again, the level of expertise of that is unbelievable. That also the level of, you know what, I can come in, let me come and work with that child during this time because I've got my UA then, and I can try that, and let me try a few things, and then we can talk about that later and see what I see. It's just incredible. There's also EST, which is a little bit more formalized, and this could be over the course of a year or a couple of years that you might have an EST plan, which starts to specialize even more the instruction and the level of support.
And
Once
Acronym check.
Ye-
Acronym
And-
check.
Yeah, that's what I was just
Sorry,
gonna say.
educational support team.
Thank you.
So there's always an administrator, guidance counselor, special educator. It's a little different in each building. Our literacy and math coordinator sit on it, and the teacher comes and talks about the child. So it's a little bit, so it's another tier. And sometimes, if all of these things don't work, we might decide to do a special ed eval. I think in Hinesburg, and I noticed once in my many years of education, it used to be if a child wasn't learning in the projectile that you would want them to, projectile, that was the wrong word, trajectory, they would, it's like, okay, we need to test them for special ed. I mean, that was many, many years ago. And that has changed, especially through the EST process. And I would say I'm just gathering about 95% of the students who go through this process and then is deemed that they should have a special ed eval actually do qualify for special ed, which is huge because the amount of resources it takes, as it should, to really do all the testing on a child and everything that needs to is huge. It's a huge resource. So the fact that we're at that huge percentile is great.
And EST is just another, like Allegra said, is a little bit more formal, but
Right.
Kids that are on EST, let's say Johnny's coming up next Wednesday.
Right.
The information about what was done, what was tried in 2013, spring of 2013, fall of 2012, all of that information on Johnny is right there. And the data collection is also, before we go to a full eval, there's a lot of screenings that we can do, just to kind of get an overall sense. But there's the process is so well defined that I agree with Allegra, is that most people that eventually the team, it's always a team decision to do a special ed eval. 95% at the lowest that we finally refer. So.
But and that's also another thing that we're working on as an SU, because we all have different ways we write plans. We all have in different schools, which has worked well for all of us, but doesn't work well when they come to CVU, and CVU is working with different, things that aren't the same, and it's better for them if they had the same. So we have a committee made up of all the schools, and we're trying to really refine that, so it's much easier for our kids once they come here. So, any questions? Molly, any last words?
Colleen had one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just, going into the budget season, I mean, this was very helpful, very informative, and it's nice to see all the tiers and understand how complex the work is that you're doing. As a board member who is going to, advocate to the public for a budget, I would want to know in what ways our budget can continue to support that work, or if you see gaps, or, Kathy brought up the math instruction, a large class size, is that an issue? Is it not? We should know about it so that we can speak appropriately to it for the community. So, great. Nice work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just like the teachers, I guess I want to end with this, is just like the teachers where they're wanting to meet and be held accountable. We want to be held accountable too. Like if there's ever anything that you see that you're not okay with, definitely let us know.
We're
because
a team.
I mean, I'm really happy with the direction that we're headed in the
Right.
place that we are right now, but that doesn't mean that that we're gonna stop trying and doing everything we can. But yeah, but if there's something that you guys are seeing as well, you know, definitely let us know.
So, moving on, 5.0 reports to the board. Les, do you think you're done? We have 5.1 principals report.
Okay, so, I know you have the report, but I have one more thing to add. We just, I know I put it in here. Well, we did receive an exemplar school award from, which was great. And if you look at number 8, the HCS receives Energy Star certification. We will find out more about this at a later date. We found out we did get it.
Excellent.
So very exciting. Many thanks to all the efficiencies that Tim has put in place for us. So I think we get a flag.
I was gonna say, so what do you get for that?
There's no money.
Five.
Yeah.
Five.
So I guess every school building is has a score from 1 to 100, and they said the average is 50. I can't remember what our score is, but
83?
right, 83.
Yeah.
So there is a way that the SU, if you have more than 5 buildings, that you could get something. None of it is money, but you could get I don't know, recognition on the website. I don't know what it is, but
And the
Yeah, bigger
reward,
flag.
and the reward, I was looking for the dollar.
I know,
sign,
Big giant Adam.
well, but I do think the dollar sign is in the reductions in our budget, right? So, but anyway, that's right. Yeah, Tim, I know, has been working really hard on that. So, and that was it. I think with the information about the standards-based learning conference that Jeff and a team went to is great. I hope you can also come to our UA curriculum night and harvest dinner. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be much more interactive than what the curriculum nights were if you went to the K2 or the 3-4 ones. So, which I thought were also really good. We did have our open house for pre-K2 and spaghetti dinner, and that was a lot of fun. I served a lot of spaghetti, so I think it was great. And Catherine Patterson coming to Hinesburg was really hush, hush, hush because, on her request, because she, you know.
My kids were talking about it for like weeks before it happened. So
Your kids were? So, well, we couldn't invite anybody else in, so.
right.
And that's hard when she's such a wonderful author, but, anyway, so Paul, I think that was attached to what Paul wrote up about that for you.
And I don't know if everybody saw the bison or not. I didn't put it in the principal's report, but the spelling team, the 8th graders, they won the spelling bee, but that's not what I'm really proud about. You know, right before I left, right before they left to go to the competition, I had to go to a committee meeting, so I couldn't go. But right before they left, I gave them the old team, you know, pep talk about it's not whether you win or you lose, but you win with dignity or you lose, you know, with grace. And I said the thing that's going to make me most proud is how you treat others during the process. And unsolicited, the parent chaperone that went wrote a really nice email back to me and just said you would be so proud of how the kids acted toward the others in defeat. And I guess they showed real empathy and a real caring attitude, so I made sure that I let the kids know how much that meant to me, because that's what it's all about. And what a fun group of kids, though. They come in, they come in at lunchtime, and just a hoop. Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah, they came in again today.
Yeah, oh yeah, they come in every lunch, whether I'm there or not.
I'm like, he's not here today. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a question. I'm sorry, I'll keep this brief. Looked at the class census, and
The class sizes?
yes,
Yeah.
Addie, first grade had 71. Remember there was we had another big class, but now we have 2 big classes, 64 and 63. So what happened? We have, you know what I'm saying?
One went down a
Fourth
little.
grade's gone down by 10 or 12.
Oh, that many.
It was Well, maybe not.
Well, 70,
Maybe
right?
10,
Sixty-nine,
at
I
least 10.
think, is
Yeah.
the highest, yeah.
So it's
it's-
in the-
71 or 72
Yeah, yeah,
at
maybe.
one point. And the third grade is big too, but that's always been pretty big.
So one of them has grown significantly from the 50s to the 60s numbers. I guess the reason I asked was is this gonna affect us at budget time with teacher assignments, so on and so forth? I just remember 2 bubble classes. Now it seems like we have 3, I guess, is my
I think
comment.
we're doing okay.
Yeah,
I forgot to put the class size there too, I'm sorry.
Oh, they're down there.
No, you got
No, they're
them,
at
you
the
got
bottom.
them, you got them. That's what,
No, not
No,
class
no,
size,
not
classroom size.
Oh, classroom size.
Right,
Oh,
classroom,
oh.
right. I forgot to do that.
anyway, that was just
The
a,
only thing that's gonna throw the budget at all is if we get another class of 71.
I've heard that this year's gonna be big.
Well, who knows?
Yeah,
You took-
who are you hearing that from though?
People who have kids in kindergarten who skipped a year to have their child and have another one, like preschools are really full, I've heard. This could just be people talking smack, but.
Hey, we like rumors.
But you have
I know
projected
there's-
figures, right?
Yeah.
Which
But
is
they're-
not
They're
big.
usually not.
Yeah.
precise. Okay.
I know there's one.
Yeah.
She's ready.
You're only counting her as one?
Five.
Oh, if you met her.
Oh, she's feisty.
I'd like to know.
I think she.
Point of
she's
clarification,
great.
is the dinner on Wednesday, the 29th, or Thursday, the 30th?
2 different dates here?
What?
Yeah,
I
the
have the
curric,
29th.
the United Arts Curriculum Night, is it a Wednesday or a Thursday?
That's a Wednesday, the 29th.
It says Thursday the 29th.
Oh,
so-
yeah, sorry. It's Wednesday, the 29th.
Okay,
Just
perfect,
testing.
thank you. That's what I'm just.
Thank you for reading it so closely.
Just
I
looked at
should've-
I looked at my calendar, I was going, "Hmm."
Yes. Sorry about that, I'll change that before
All right,
Okay.
thank you very much, both of you.
Nancy, did you want to say one thing?
Oh,
forgot to
it's
put it
one
in.
event that's coming up that's always a lot of fun, if you want to visit, is the preschool family math night. And it's part of our ongoing early intervention program for math, and it's for parents and their 3 to 5-year-olds, and what parents
For you
can do with their kids with materials at home. And we started this many years ago, and from that it grew across the district and outside the district that we've just given the information. So it's a really fun night. We usually get about anywhere between 20 and 30 families of very active, fun-loving little ones who are doing all kinds of really fun math activities. So if you've never been, Keith, you've been, right?
I've been twice.
You gonna come again?
I will probably be there again, I'm just looking to see what night it was.
It was amazing. Myself and the other 2 coordinators that were there, not math coordinators of the event, looking around saying, they're so quiet. It just didn't even feel right, because usually it's just a very loud, happy loudness. But it was very happy studio. You were there,
Yeah,
wasn't it? And I
it was
was like,
great.
this is the quietest it's
Yeah,
ever
it's really
been.
fun.
But it's a lot of fun. So if you,
Yeah.
it's November 7th at 5:30 to 7.
And there's pizza.
And there's pizza.
All right, thank you. A couple more reports, perhaps. CSSU debrief, I suppose we could be very brief and invite Kathy to ask any questions she wants, but we bought a bus.
Congratulations.
A $6,000 bus. Yeah.
Seriously, hold on, let me look at the.
A few committee assignments were made.
Some committee assignments, we made a bunch. There's always the opportunity to serve on one if you want. Actually, I don't know that you can, because you're not a SU board member. I tried to get that on one of them. Let's see, what else did we talk about?
We have
Am
to
I
talk
looking at
about
the
the
SU one.
Paraeducators.
We're gonna get,
Yeah,
that's in one of,
yeah.
that's in, one of our discussion matters, so we'll talk about that. What else did we talk about?
Steve Dale from VSBA
Yep.
came and met with us for about
Yep.
20 minutes, executive director. We hadn't been able to have him attend our SU board meetings because we always met on the same night that the VSBA boards were meeting.
And the communication
We're getting
agreement,
to point out.
those topics, that was part of it.
Yes, that's.
Yes, that's on our,
Okay.
it's on
Do you-
ours too,
Keith,
somewhere.
do you want to mention the communications
Yeah, so there's two things. So the communications committee met.
Thanks.
We had a very productive meeting. One of the takeaways is we're gonna try to get a centralized database at the SU of everybody's communications articles, so that if we wanna have something on a particular topic, we can at least check if someone else has written on it. And the other thing is, we acted on a CVU request for 3 specific issues, to write articles on 3 specific issues with the assistant central office administrators. And all 3 of those issues are sort of general in application, so all the K-8 schools can use that information too. All right, 5.3, parent council debrief. Anyone who may have gone to one of those meetings want to say anything?
I don't think there's been one since our last meeting.
All right, there's got to be one coming up then.
I think
Hi,
it's
Elaine.
November, I think it's November 4th.
Okay.
Yep, that sounds great.
5.4, facilities committee. Anything from,
He has not met.
No, and, no, I think one reason is the big proposal in town is at least delayed, so it's,
Yeah, took some heat off.
took some heat off
oh yeah,
momentarily, so.
And actually the bond vote on the
And the
water
well.
is,
that might have some impact.
will have some impact.
Yep.
So no immediate urgency.
Excellent, thank you. So let's go to discussion matters. 6.1.1, SU purchase services. Scrolling to my page. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so this is, I think, just confirmation that we are still interested in purchasing the things that we normally purchase from the SU.
You want to look at it?
If it stops turning on me. Where are we?
in the middle.
IT, CY, what's CY? Oh, the Connected Youth, sorry, CY, yeah. Food, transportation, English language learners, and early learning partnership.
Yes.
Yes.
We're in for everything, as is Williston. Charlotte, we know, doesn't do transportation, CBU obviously doesn't have LP, and St. George doesn't have those other things, yeah. So we're usually in for everything, so I guess, we're in discussion, right? So we don't have to act on anything, but I guess we would, administration
This is
would
the
want
nod
some
that we're looking for,
feedback.
though, because this
to
is
the
how
ex-
Bob builds the budget.
To the
We're-
extent that
we're
we
gonna-
are not interested, we should speak now and
Exclude.
forever hold peace.
I'm interested.
Yep.
Right. I am too, so there you go.
We're in.
We're in.
Glad to hear it.
We want to play in the sandbox.
All right, so let's see if I can get back to my agenda. Has anybody figured out how to quickly scroll through pages on an iPad? If you do, let me know.
That's a tricky thing on an iPad. When in doubt, paper.
Capital projects.
6.1.2, capital projects, 3 to 5 year plan. Again, in our materials, there is a chart.
I need to share with you. Do you want
This is something put together for us every year, which I think personally is extremely helpful
For sure.
to see what the plans are to deal with capital projects at our school. So again, this is a discussion matter, so any comments, questions, or other issues you want to bring up, now would be the opportunity, but we don't need to act on anything.
But the plan, the question is, the plan is the 22 for the carpet, 22 for the 69 edition,
For 15, 16, yeah.
and then we get 3 line items, but, paint exterior edition, paint the exterior. So the third 20, is that come from the general fund, or what are we gonna do with that third 20? It's 22, 22, and 20 and 20.
That's what I just.
Yeah, 2 of them say general, the other one doesn't
Has
say
nothing.
anything.
I'm bringing it up right now,
We've
sorry.
bonded we've bonded for roof in the past, and that may be why it's a question of whether, first of all, whether the two roofs, 15, 16, 16, 17 should be combined. Perhaps that's one bond, but maybe if it's just one small section of a roof, that should be general. We've
Let me
had
make
like
sure that
over-
you're looking at the, we put,
This.
Is this living here?
yeah, so, there's a couple things that happened, is one, I'll share it with you, but, I shared it with Bob, and Bob said to send it to Cindy. I made this a lot more easier to read, but I didn't wanna throw it to you without it being in the official packet.
Yeah.
So I'll share that with you, but the question specifically is,
How are we gonna finance this, replace roof on one section of 69 addition?
Yep, so there's three sections, and what Tim and I looked at, so there's three sections that would cost $92,000.
Yeah.
So initially, what we said is that we'd put 20,000. One of the sections cost 20,000, one cost 22, and one cost 50. Just so I don't know if you want this level of detail. The carpet in the library, we can definitely get another year or two out of the carpet in the library. So what we did is we moved that $20,000 over a couple of years, and the roof is a more pressing issue, so we moved that back over. And I'm trying to, I'm just worried because I'm looking at a Google Doc and I'm
So
not sure if it's
What
the
you're
one.
proposing is we don't
That's what
replace
we
the carpet and we do the roof
Oh, thank
section.
you. Yes.
Got it.
Yep. So what I have for next year is $20,000 to replace the third floor white building carpet and $42,000 to do two sections of the 69 roof. And then in year 16, 17, $50,000 to replace the one big section of the roof, and $22,000 to paint the exterior of the 98 edition. And Tim and I, Elaine, as we update this, what's the best way to get it to the board? Does it have to be a formal, can I send it via email, or is there a formal process that?
I think we'd like to see it, so Bob will want it, I always want to be copied, so
Okay.
that if there's any question, then we can jump into it. 'cause-
There's a much easier to read format that I put together, and it was just after the deadline for Sandy. So Bob wanted a couple of the prices to be put in there, so Tim is working on
Let me
that.
make it simple. How much are you looking for repairs? I don't care what category for this budget season.
The 62,000. The 42 for the two sections of the 69 roof and the third floor of the white building.
Okay.
And that's, that won't be an increase or decrease, that's kind of when we get the baseline, that'll be part of the baseline.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
we can't, build Sim up enough, the work that he does and the knowledge that he has of the building and the spaces, I really enjoy sitting down with him, and we walk around and we take a look at the different spaces and the different areas, and he'll tell me really clearly, yep, the roof can wait a couple of years, but he always does it so that we don't have a huge mess on our hands. So all of a sudden we don't have a hole in the roof,
Right.
So. And I'm sorry that I had to step out for a second.
All right,
Didn't you notice?
is there something else? Go on to 6.1.3 budget buddies. I looked back at some material from last year and saw that the date of my submission to Front Porch Forum seeking budget buddies last year was October 21st.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? So, rather than send it out a couple weeks ago, I decided to hold off until after this meeting. Also because I couldn't find where we had landed on the budget forum, which I now see is November 24th. So the Front Porch Forum announcement that I would propose, which is what I did last year, is announce both the budget forum and ask for budget buddies. I have also communicated with last year's budget buddies, and I have commitments from 2 of them, 3 counting a faculty rep, which I basically defer to you guys to confirm who that's gonna be. But he's at least still interested.
Was Dave one of them, Brown?
Dave Brown is recommitted,
Okay.
as has Tina Specht. So there are 2 openings. One of the budget buddies from last year is unable to do it this year, and the 5th one is a board member. So we have 2 openings.
It's good to have that consistency from one year to the next.
It is good to have consistency. I will say that to the extent the public's listening, we really could use another community member who doesn't have kids in the school to have that perspective.
Absolutely.
I value that.
Yeah. So I
Think
will,
about that.
I will put that out
Think
on
about
Front
that.
Porch Forum in the next
about
couple of days. And invite community members to express interest. I think it would be a good problem to have if we had too many people than spots, in which case then there'll be some discussion about how we determine who should join us. But just for the record, the budget meetings, there's 3 of them. November 24th, December 15th, I think it is, it's a Monday. Because that was important to some people and having it on their calendars. December 14th, I believe, and then there's one in January, which is, I
December
think,
15th would be a Monday.
is on a Wednesday. I think it's the 20th
I think there's a budget meeting on like the 9th or 10th or something, right?
of,
December?
I think, maybe it's the 7th.
have the 8th.
Yeah. Oh,
No?
Yeah, it's close to that.
Yeah, the Monday.
Somewhere.
I think it's Monday the 7th then.
December 8th. It's a Monday.
Your calendar, you're looking at it wrong.
Oh, I'm
The 8th is a
looking at
Monday.
2015, that's why I
There you
scrolled.
go.
Those
Thank you.
electronic
There we
gadgets
go.
are
Just
just not
gonna
working.
December 8th, thank you.
Keith, I'm wondering, just as you were talking about the 3 meetings and then looking for possible budget buddies, does the board have any interest in creating a 1-page flyer that could go into the Viking? That, just kind of, just some bullet points about the budget process and just an idea? Yeah.
Jeff, you're astute, or smart, because we're thinking alike. I was thinking, as in food for thought, for me, being a budget buddy was the first window to give me an understanding of how the school works. What really happens at the school is when you sit there and go through the budget, we could figure out a way to get more, not just budget buddies, but people. I know people are busy at the budget meetings, it would really be helpful. I don't know how we do that. I don't have any magical solutions, but anything we could do to encourage people to get to those budget meetings would be huge, because myself included, I was, everyone Monday morning quarterbacks after the budget's done, and now you sit there and you go through, you're like, well, you know what, this is what we gotta do, so.
We'd be happy to put
I
something in
don't
there too.
disagree. I don't disagree with any of that. My response to your question is the Viking, I think, has a limited audience of students and parents. So to the extent we want to engage people in the budget process, I don't have an objection to putting something in the Viking, although we gotta talk about who's gonna write it. But I wouldn't wanna restrict it to only the Viking.
No.
Well, that dovetails with getting the Viking on the Front Porch Forum, which
Yep.
still hasn't happened.
There was a job description for a budget buddy that was written up.
Yes, I was gonna say, we do have that information.
Can you email that to me?
Yes.
But we should have like the dates, the expectations,
Yep.
the time commitment, the prep prior to meetings, and their actual opportunity to weigh in.
But
Clarify that,
But also just trying to encourage other non-budget buddy people to come too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's a good segue to 614, the budget forum preparation. Again, the budget forum is on November 24th at 5:30 at HCS, room to be determined. What do you need to hear from us in terms of preparation? It's our opportunity to hear from whoever shows up about their concerns about the budget, but do you need any input?
Would you like the slide presentation that you put together, that we kind
I-
of put together in collaboration last year?
Yeah, I think that would probably be helpful to
Yeah.
at least frame the issue. This is
And I almost I think for the budget forum, possibly yourself and Elaine and I and Allegra sat down and talked about the different information to present, but I'll send out an email and.
In some ways, it's an opportunity to educate whoever shows up about how the budget does work. So what are all the pieces? You know, so what are all the programs and
Right.
that are represented, that are sourced by the budget?
Do you wanna talk about it in our next, agenda planning
Sounds fine to me.
meeting?
And I'll send the link
Yeah.
with what we used last year, and this dovetails into a budget meeting, at
Yes.
least in my calendar.
Yeah.
So would you
Yep.
like to have it in the same room
Um,
as the budget meeting will be?
Yeah, I think that would help both for timing, so we don't have to have that break, and
Okay.
might keep some
Yeah,
audience members.
exactly, right?
Do I need to let Sandy know that in terms of the budget form? The budget form is just our thing, right?
Yeah, which,
That's already part of the calendar,
when's that?
everybody knows about it.
right.
November 24th.
In terms of
5:30.
finding the
Well,
room
that's a
that's
budget
big
meeting.
enough, then
It
that's
is.
your,
6 o'clock
she's
is the
just gonna
budget
give
meeting.
that back to
Oh,
you.
it's 5:30.
You just need to let her know where it is so that she can warn it.
She does.
Sandy will do the
Sandy.
food for
Can
the
find the
budget.
meeting?
The forum is more of a public discussion, input. What do you think we should do with your budget? All right. 6.2 policy. I think I'm just gonna attack all four of these together. The policies are in the packet, conveniently marked against the current ones. I would invite Colleen, I think, as our policy committee rep, to mention them, anything you want about them.
Right now? Sorry.
Not necessarily. I'm just saying, I mean, this is part of the,
Yes.
you know, we have a very good, robust policy review process that
Yep.
Cindy leads on behalf of the administration, and we have a great group of folks that are on the policy committee, and we periodically review them, and there's 4 of them up for discussion in the timing for their review right now.
So Cindy provided a good memo, I
Yep.
thought, that just explained some of the differences. And some of it's just cleaning up language. For example, criminal record checks. Well, it's more than criminal record checks. The background checks, there are actually half a dozen different ones and so forth. So some of this is just language cleaning up. One of the things that we did discuss a little bit further, and we just need to keep this in the back of our minds as for like criminal record checks, I don't remember what it is, it's like $45 or something like that. So volunteers in a school cannot work unsupervised with children unless they go through certain vetting processes. And right now, boards do not pay for that, so it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. If boards ever did go in that direction, it's a huge amount of money. But it was just, you know, we talked about it in terms of like CVU mentoring programs, or you know, the graduation challenge, if you had to go through a lot of that vetting, and that cost might be associated with it. But for the most part, these policies that we reviewed, it's just language cleanup.
Questions? All right. Thank you,
Okay.
Colleen.
You're welcome.
6.3, Act 153, 156. Bill, Colleen, and I were at the SU meeting, so we have the SU's, the benefit of the background from that meeting. Kathy, this is related to the transfer of special education from the locals to the SU. Everything got moved relative.
Special education paras.
I'm getting there.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Last year, everything related to special education got moved to the SU, except for special ed paras, who are still now employed by the local schools, even though for the most part, most of their responsibilities and reporting is to our special education coordinator at the SU. So the proposal that is being debated at the SU board is whether to move the employment status of special education paras over to the SU as well, to consolidate all that stuff. It's an SU board decision, but as we did with the other Act 153, 156 stuff, we're soliciting discussion and feedback from the locals before the SU makes a decision. So consider that. If you have any thoughts that you really are just screaming out to tell us, say it now, or
Forever hold it.
approach one of
Yeah.
us before the next SU meeting. We're definitely gonna have another discussion at the SU before we make a decision. So that decision won't probably happen for a while. Any other thoughts?
Actually, I had a question that maybe Molly can answer. If maybe she doesn't want to answer it, but she lives in that world a little bit. If you don't want to answer it, fine. It sounds like to me it just provided more streamlined efficiency and flexibility for.
By moving the special ed paras.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the view. That's why it's being
Right. Okay.
proposed,
That's
precisely.
okay. Then
And, Josh asked, what's the compelling reason for doing it, which,
Well, that's the
I
reason.
think that's it. But when this first came up a year or so ago, and when we looked at it board chairs meeting and looked at some numbers, there were vast differences among the school districts with how people were deployed within a building for special education. And the funding formula that we agreed on at the SU is based on ADM, not actual people hired to do the work. And so the idea was that because there were different models across the SU and the different school districts with how paras were being used, we backed, a year or so ago, we backed off on moving the paras to the SU to allow the transition time of centralizing the way services are delivered within the SU so that no one school district would have a big impact if we had done assessment, the financial assessment based on actual bodies in the field. Is that ringing a bell? So, the ADM model, it's not based on actual usage of the people doing the work. ADM is based on the kids who are identified with special needs. So I think that, to me, that's the question that we need to have at the SU board, is what's happening to systematize the, have some consistency of service delivery across the SU so that one school might not have enough resources allocated towards special ed, and another school might have too many. Because right now, we don't know what the mechanisms are. And I think that's just the question. We haven't had that explained. So I think for board members who are not ready to just, jump on board and say, yeah, we're ready to go, it's only because a year ago we had that discussion, and I think we need to have a better understanding of how that's working. Molly, does that make sense?
I recall all of that in our discussions, and wisely, I think that is something just to return to review. I think Megan approached a little bit of it this evening, but maybe
Yeah.
not in the way you phrased the question.
So when you debrief with your
Yep.
team tomorrow, if you could relay that, I think that's where some of the hesitancy was coming from, because, a while ago it was like, well, if you looked at the numbers, and I don't remember if we shared the numbers in the, I don't think we shared them publicly when we first did it was committee work, and it was, and we just saw that there were big differences. But I know a lot has changed in the past 2 years, too.
good questions.
Yeah, I'll certainly bring it up in the debrief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. 6.4, Communications Board's Corner. We talked about communications a lot. There is the possibility for some more of them. The minutes from last meeting say you were going to write one on the
I
ASK
tried, and I have to tell you, there were so many acronyms. I had an email conversation with Jen Bradford, and I gave up.
Alphabet
I
soup.
could not put it in terms that made sense to my neighbor.
Thanks for taking the cut out.
I forget what the topic was.
The PBIS award.
Oh,
Speaking of acronyms.
So, there you go. I can do the next one.
We got a good school.
You gotta go to school. Yeah.
We got this
Well,
big
the-
contour of a ribbon too, so we're trying to figure out.
Put it next to the flag.
Welcome to our school of excellence.
well, I liked the idea of the 3 topics that
Yeah.
CVU.
Yeah.
you know,
And so at the communications committee, what I suggested was that if those CBU topics got approved, that we alternate them during the year so that the boards can put something in between them if they chose or not, but at least to spread them out throughout the year. So I don't know when those are going to appear. I don't know if there's a timeline, but we'll definitely have room to put others in the middle.
Do you know Sue Grasso?
Who?
Sue Grasso, CVU. I think she was spearheading some of that.
Yeah. I'm gonna need to probably put something together on the budget, probably come December, once we see it and kind of know where it's going.
But I was gonna volunteer, I can get in the Citizen and the Hinesburg Record about the 24th.
That would be great if you could do that. You wanna put something together about the budget forum for the 24th? I mean, I'll put a little blurb on Front Porch
Yeah.
Forum without it, but,
Yep.
yeah. And I'll try to remember to repost it closer to that date. All right, action matters. We only have one. 7.1, appoint support staff negotiations committee representative. I guess I need a motion to do that. And then we can talk about whether Bill's gonna do it.
So moved.
And I was appointed for the CVU board CSSU board.
Sounds like we have a slate.
I think I need a second.
You do.
Second.
Yeah, thank you. All
I
right,
was
so
waiting
then,
for Bill to give a nod, but yeah, you're good.
so then the question is, do we want Colleen to wear 2 hats? Bill, are you interested in doing it, coming off your very successful campaign of getting a teacher contract without
Strike.
some certain events that happened in a neighboring community?
Some parts of it were more successful than others. Yeah, I'm glad for punishment, but sure, why not?
Okay, great. Great. It's a different process. It's an open process. Although, did you use an open process?
Well,
In the teacher, no, you used it open for board members, but not for the public.
no, we
right?
got
Oh,
to.
you did? Oh, you did?
Well,
Okay.
no,
It was-
no,
No,
we never.
it
got
was
one
not
to the point
open.
where the
we could communicate openly after a certain date, but we
Okay.
decided not to at a certain time because it was,
staff had, at one point in time, meetings were public.
The support staff negotiations last time, at a certain point in time, were open to the public. That's not to say they will be again,
No,
but.
we need to negotiate
you
the
need-
ground
yeah.
rules.
All right. Those in favor?
Right.
Hi,
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
It'll be fun working with you again.
Oh, yeah.
8.0 consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
So moved.
Thanks, Bill.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 next meeting dates. We have our regular board meeting on Tuesday, the 18th, here at CVU. And then the budget forum and budget meeting on November 24th, commencing at 5:30 at HCS. I didn't add, well, I'll ask now, do we need an executive session on support staff negotiations?
I think it was just to appoint somebody.
I think it probably was, right?
Do we
Yeah.
need something on another thing or?
Unless someone feels a need to have one to talk about what we're allowed to talk about in executive session. I don't think that we need one.
I don't think we have anything to really discuss, do we?
I think
so.
that's, Cindy just wanted us to identify someone.
So you know what I'll entertain then?
I'm sorry.
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to
Early?
adjourn.
It's Molly's birthday. It's an early birthday present.
Thank you very much. And we are out at 8:42.